Good morning, everybody. Hope you had a good weekend. Welcome to the Monday Morning Call. Now is the time to be talking about things that have gone well, things that have gone poorly. We can benefit from both those things if you care to share those. Otherwise, we have a little pointer and then a topic today. So if you've got things that you want to share, just type them in there and Missy will let me know. So here we go. Our pointer today is this. I want to do a little spotlight on one of our systems. So a lot of guys will ask, do you have anything for referring friends or get referrals? So we do, yes. It's called Friends Helping Friends, and if I can go to our website here. So down in our archive, so your library archive, and then in here we have some various and sundry different things. We have the 5Q process guide, we have client advisory board, then we have the Friends versus Friends, or Friends versus Friends, Friends Helping Friends. We have the explanation right here, which is downloading, which walks you through basically how that works. We have the brochure, which is what you would share with your clients. So I'll bring that up so you can take a look at it. That'll take a second to download. And then we have a referral letter that you would send to your, oops, I got to move that over when it opens up, to your clients and to the referral. Let's see here, I'll get it opened. So there you go. So we have that. So we have the whole kit and caboodle, and let's see here. How far are we from opening it up here? Still downloading. And then we have a get this open here a second. The movie ticket letter, because what we use for our Friends Helping Friends is a movie ticket. So we give 2 to the referrer, and we give 2 to the referrer. So they can go to a movie together. Because one of the things that our clients are a little bit skittish about when they're referring is they don't want to make money off of their friends, neighbors, or relatives. So what we do is we give both of them movie tickets so they can share and go out together for that. So let's see here. Yep, we got it open here. I'm going to open up the brochure that we have so you can customize this to for yourself. So you see this is the folding in the inside of it. And then we'll look at the back side. So here's 4 key benefits of Friends Helping Friends. You get free movie tickets, free quarterly drawings for grand prizes, help you even more. It explains why referrals are so important, and help your friends enjoy the same financial, and talks about all the things that we do for the 21-point checklist. So I wanted you to know that we had that available to us. And so if you need or want that, you can find that right under the archive list here. But we're going to talk a little bit more about referrals and how to get them today. So any questions on the Friend Helping Friends, guys? Okay. So what's the difference between, this is dealers, but just what's the difference between successful advisors and unsuccessful advisors, or really anybody out there in the business world? Well, successful people give credit to other people for their, give other people credit and take responsibility for their own failures, where unsuccessful people take credit for other people's success and blame their failures on other people. So successful people accept responsibilities for their failures, and unsuccessful people blame their failures on other people. Successful people compliment people, unsuccessful people criticize. Successful people read. Unsuccessful people just sit in front of the boob tube. Successful people keep journals, and unsuccessful people don't. This is a great one. Successful people talk about ideas, and unsuccessful people talk about people. Successful people want others to succeed, and successful people secretly hope others fail. Successful people want to share info and data. Successful people hoard info and data. Successful people exude joy versus anger. Keep project lists, fly by the seat of their pants. Unsuccessful people. Successful people set goals, and unsuccessful people never set goals. And what is my opinion on goals, guys? What's my opinion on goals? Do I like goals, setting goals, or I don't like setting goals? Remember we talked about what the author of Dilbert said about goals? Not a big fan, exactly. Not a big fan. So what do we have instead of goals? Because I never had goals in my practice. I never had goals in my practice. So what do I have instead? You guys remember? And this is what the author of Dilbert, I forget what his name is, the author of Dilbert said, and I totally agree with what he said. Because goals are very, I mean, as soon as you set a goal, you're almost destined to fail. Most people never meet their goals. It's a hard thing. So if you set a goal for how many people you're going to see, well, there's two parties to that. There's two parties to that, you and the other person. So if the other person doesn't do it, then you can't achieve your goal. If it's money, I want to make so much money this year, but there's no way for you to guarantee you're going to achieve that. So you do not want goals, you want systems. Bruce says activity, yeah, so systems, proper processes, Kevin, exactly right. You want systems, because if you have appropriate systems in place, then everything else falls into place. Your goals will fall into place. So I always just followed through in a system, and I made tons of money. And that's the people that I know in the world. They just have systems. They follow the system. They don't worry about setting goals. And then successful people continuously learn. Unsuccessful people think they know it all. That's a huge one, isn't it? Successful people continuously learn. Unsuccessful people think they know it all. And then successful people embrace change. Unsuccessful people fear change. And one that is not on here, successful people are fine with failing, guys, or not? Do successful people like to fail? I take that back. They don't like to fail. Are successful people okay with failing? Steve Richard says yes. Guys, successful people are fine with failing, because when you fail, it means you've tried, you've stretched, you're doing things new, you're trying to get better. If you succeed at everything, what does that tell you? If you're always succeeding, what does that tell you? You're not reaching far enough. And in fact, that's what they're finding with a lot of kids out of school today, especially the Ivy League schools. Many businesses are refusing to hire Ivy League graduates now. Why? Many schools are refusing to hire Ivy League graduates. Why? Many schools. Many businesses are refusing to hire graduates from Ivy League schools, because they're generally kids that have never failed. They've had helicoptered parents who've made sure they had were looking over their shoulder continually, trying to making sure that they were taking the practice tests for their ACTs and SATs, making sure that they were harping on the teachers to do all these things for their kids. So by the time the kids get into the working world, these kids have never failed once. They've never actually had to reach once. So by the time they get to the working world, they have no ability to fail. So they constantly go to their boss and say, "What do I need to do here? I want to make sure I don't do anything wrong here. So tell me exactly what to do." They're not able to function by themselves. They're not able to function by themselves. So here we go. So I want to talk about how the successful. Well, I'm not going to give you I almost blew what I want to talk about here. What is your most valuable asset, guys? Yours, mine, and everybody's. What is our most valuable asset? Anybody have an idea? Yay, Frank and Jerry, time. Time is more valuable than money. You can get more money, but you can never get more time. And whether you're a billionaire or a pauper, guess what? We're all given the exact same amount of time. So it's how we use that time that really determines our success versus our failure. So how much time do you spend analyzing how you spend your time? Because if you do that on an occasional basis, that's going to be very, very important to your success or your failure. So what is the best use of your time? Well, there is no exact formula to say exactly what's the best use of your time. You have to know what's the best use of your time. Some people think being with their family is the best use of their time. And so when I talk to them about how their business is going, they're constantly telling me, well, they've got to take their daughter to dance lessons and their son to football practice, and they have to spend time with your wife, and that's terrific. Then you've determined that your family's the most important thing. Other people think their business is the most important thing, so they get divorces and they never, their kids don't even know who they are because they spend all their time working. So there is a balance to this. There's no exact formula for how you should spend your time. So I don't want to get into the big picture of how you should spend your time globally, but I do want to get into the small picture of how you should spend your time when you're actually in your office. So one of the best uses of time is meeting with your A clients. So you might be meeting with them just to deepen the relationships you have with them. And why would you want to deepen the relationships you have with them? Well, to get more money, make sure they never leave you, and to see if they can get referrals from them. You want to anticipate their needs. Don't wait for them to call you. Figure out what they're going to need and get it to them before they call you. Again, a lot of this is to do with gather additional assets to strengthen their loyalty, get introductions to people just like them. So meeting with your A clients is always a great use of your time. So what about B and C clients? Should we ignore them? No, but we want to be meeting them in a more time-efficient manner, maybe less often throughout the year, and the meeting should be somewhat smaller. Because what we're looking for is, are the B and C clients ready to be moved up to A clients? And so that meeting does not take that long to do that. But if you're meeting with all your clients at the same time, and can I ask you a question, guys? This is a generality, but who tends to want to use all your time? A, B's, or C's? Yep, the C's. Why? Why the C's? Everybody's saying C's. Why the C's? Because the A's, they've got things to do. You know, they've got money. They're out doing things. They're out traveling. They're busy. And the C's have no time or money, so you are their friend. So they'll spend all the time in the world with you. Guys, you cannot be wasting your time on that. So there are ways to get in front of your B and C's regularly. So how I did it, I had Christmas light tours in the winter, and I had barbecues in the summer. So that's a fantastic way to get in front of all your clients all at one time, and you get to meet them and talk to them. Also, I sent out 2 different communications every month. So send out a snail mail newsletter with a little, which of course we have on our site, a snail mail newsletter in the U.S. mail, and then send out a different email to them. So you're contacting everybody twice a month. And then in the snail mail newsletter, it always had personal things about me and my family. So it felt like to them that they were seeing me every single month because they knew what was going on with me and my family, and that's what they want to know. So that's a great way to take care of B and C clients. So those monthly touches with email newsletters and snail mail newsletters, and then you have the twice a year client events. So it's a great, fun, efficient way, as Frank says, fun and efficient way to get in front of all your clients on a regular basis. And then you save those those one-on-ones for A clients. So one of the reasons we want to keep our A clients happy and we keep our B and C clients around is we would like them to ask them for referrals. Not. Why don't we ask for referrals? Because, guys, if referrals, how many of our clients like to give referrals? How many of our clients like to give referrals? None. Why? Why don't clients like to give referrals? Why don't you like to give referrals? You feel it's what? Puts pressure on them. Yes, Peter, we feel like we're being pressured to, and do we want to, it almost feels like, I know it's not the case, but doesn't it almost feel like we're ratting out our family or our friends or our relatives when we sick the siding salesperson on them or the window salesperson on them or even the financial advisor on them? It makes it feel like, oh my gosh, now they're going to go bother them and they're going to blame me. They don't want to do that. So they don't want to just give you names of people. And when they approach people and try to refer you out, because some people will approach their friends, neighbors, relatives and try to refer to you, what happens when they say, hey, you should meet with my financial advisor? What happens? Hey, you should meet with my financial advisor. Dread, yeah. So when you say, hey, you should meet with my financial advisor, they say, yeah, I got a guy. You should meet with my guy because my guy's really good too. So after they try that once, when will they ever try to do it again? Never. So what we want to do is not, we don't want them to give us names because that's worthless. They're not going to call them up and say you should expect this call, and we're not going to call them up because we know they're going to say, who are you and why are you calling me? But introductions are by far the best way to get in front of people. So how many of your clients will actually walk a client into your office? That's the best way to introduce you. If they're afraid to refer, they're certainly not going to do introductions. Now, again, everybody gets a couple or referrals a year, 2 or 3 referrals a year, but how many of us are really making millions of dollars a year by referrals? So I'm not talking about the occasional 1, 2, or 3 that you get per year. I'm talking about consistent referrals. So the best way to do it is get to introductions, but how do we get introductions? Well, the best way to do it is this. Host small client events, and they bring their friends. That's a great use of your time. So what could it be? Birthday parties. I had one advisor who every single month he took just one person He didn't give birthday parties to everybody, but he took one person, and it was usually like a special birthday, whether it was their 60th, their 70th, their 75th, their birthday or something like, or their golden birthday or something like that. So it was a special birthday. And then what they did is they talked to the wife secretly and said, I'd like to do a birthday party for your husband, or they talked to the husband and said, I'd like to do a birthday present or party for your wife. And then they put it together over a lunch. And then with the spouse, they invited all of their friends. And then at the birthday party, all you would do is you'd host the event, you'd toast to the birthday. You're not there advertising. You're there to host the event. So you host the event. You say, you give them an introduction of who you are and your relationship to your client, and then toast them on to their birthday and wish them a wonderful happy birthday. And then you just basically have the birthday party. But essentially, this guy would he brought on about 2 clients a month with this. So out of 10, 12 people that would show up, 2 of them would end up becoming clients of his just from this little birthday party. And he never even talked about business during the birthday party. So why do you think that came up? Why do you think these people moved to him? Because how many of their advisors would do something like that? So that's one type of, that's a great use of your time. A retirement party for people. A client advisory board. On our website, we have a client advisory board. So if I go back to the website here, and we get out of Friends Helping Friends, we go back to archive list. There's a client advisory board. So we have everything you need to do a client advisory board. That's a great use of your time. Who are you going to choose to be on your client advisory board, guys? Who are you going to choose to be on your client advisory board? Your best clients, right, Peter? Your best clients. So that's a great way to get to know them better. A wine tasting, that's an awesome way for a client referral event. Golf lessons is a great way. Referral dinners. We actually use our Fire Floods and Taxes event or even an outside the box event to do a referral dinner. Now I'm not a big fan of really nice dinners. So at our events we never feed more than $15, $20 a plate. But for a referral dinner, guess what I'm going to do? I will spend a lot of money on the food for referral dinners. Why? Because it's with my best clients. And it's only for a small group, and I have no marketing costs because they're coming, and they're not going to feel weird when I call to explain why I'm doing what I'm doing. So with referral dinners, we have a great little letter that tells them to be part of a referral dinner, they need to bring a friend. And then I have a script that if they call you and want to come without a friend, how you get out of having them come and letting them know, no, you don't come to these things unless you have a friend. So if you want to do one of those things, let us know, and we'll get you that letter. But this is a fantastic way, these referral dinners, to bring in 2 or 3 high-quality clients a month. Town halls. Again, one of our advisors, Pam, does a fantastic job with town halls and is paying off big time for her. She's been at it for 2-3 years, but by being consistent, and consistency builds trust with both her clients and her prospects, she's building a huge practice, and kudos to her for hosting these town halls on a regular basis. So what she does with the town halls is she invites other speakers to come to those town halls. So whether it be a chiropractor or an ophthalmologist or a gardening expert or whatever, to these town halls, and then she always hosts them. She gets her 5 minutes of stardom at the beginning and 5 minutes of stardom at the end, but in the middle, it's inside there are people who have interesting topics to cover. So that's a great way, a great use of your time. Lunch and learns, again, using any of the items that we have. We have the outside the box, we have Fire Floods and Taxes, we have Social Security, or you can do actually current events, talk about what's happening in the marketplace or the political landscape or tax landscape. So these are great uses of your time. And if you want to do one of these things, these are the kinds of things that we can talk about during my quick start with you. Best use of time is block in business building time. So running our businesses, a lot of us are doing it by ourselves, so we feel like an island. And it seems like we've got one emergency after another emergency after another emergency hitting us with our business. That can really drain your positive energy. So the best way to deal with that is instead just every week block 2-3 hours for business stuff. So whether it be, some examples, for creating and reviewing your business plan, for researching additional ways to leverage your niche, for reviewing your office efficiency with your staff, your technology, time management, brainstorming with staff, read a book during that time, practice a skill, learn something new. And I'm going to go back to reading a book. Guys, is reading the paper and reading a book the same thing? Is reading the paper and reading it? No, exactly. Frank. So, am I a big fan of reading the paper, guys? Do you think I'm a big fan of reading the paper? No, exactly. Why? Anybody that wastes their time if you want to read the paper, when should you read the paper? Before you come to work or after you come to work? But what should you not be doing at work? Reading the paper. Yeah, one thing, Bruce, is it's depressing. I agree with you. And I agree with you, Casey, is read it on Sunday. The paper does not, reading the paper makes you think like you're being productive. Makes you think like you're, now, it's a good use of your time. Guys, let me ask you a question. Why do clients become clients of ours? What are they looking for? Why do people become clients of ours? Trust and care, Frank. Exactly right. They don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. Do they really think one of us is smarter than another? No. So if you're reading the paper, what are you trying to do? If you're reading the paper, what are you trying to do? Become smart. Exactly, Frank. You're trying to become smart. That's right, Peter. You're trying to get smart. That's not what's going to make you money. Being a better communicator is what's going to make you money. Being a better people person, being better at psychology, being better at commiserating, being better at getting on their side, that's going to make you a lot of money. Being smart isn't going to make you money. And it was, well, what am I supposed to say today? If I don't know what's going on today, what are they going to say? Guys, is anything that's happening today going to affect your business whatsoever? What if the market went way up today? Should that affect your business? What if the market went way down today? Should that affect your business? Are you investing for the day-to-day, or are you investing long-term for your clients? Are you going to? Well, how's that going to change? If the market goes way up or way down today, how's that going to change what you do with your clients? It's not. So why am I okay with reading a book? I'm also okay with you reading monthly magazines or even weekly magazines. Why? Because at least then you're reading about ideas that have some legs on them, ideas that are worth writing about even over a period of time, instead of just something that's exciting today and gone tomorrow. But I would prefer for you to read books, because books are about what? Ideas, big ideas. That's what you want to be reading. Think big ideas, not useless facts that are going to be part of history tomorrow. Does that make sense? So read a book. That's a great use of your time. Not all day long, during your business building time that you block aside for 2 or 3 hours a week. Practice a skill. What's the skill I want you to practice every week? In fact, what's the skill I want you to practice every single day, guys? What's the skill I want you to practice every single day? GOTS, exactly, Kevin, Casey. GOTS. 5 minutes every day on your way to work. Listen to the radio. If you're conservative, listen to public radio. If you're a liberal, listen to talk radio. If you're neither, listen to sports radio. If you don't have a radio in your car, well then, or you walk to work, then read the newspaper and find on the editorial section and find something you don't agree with, and spend 5 minutes a day explaining why whatever idea you don't agree with is absolutely right. Do that every day. Learn something new. So these are good uses of your time. In fact, meeting with people. And again, putting this, building your practice. But what am I talking about building your practice? Do you understand here with best use of time block in business building time? How much time am I talking about here per week? How much time? Just 3 hours, 2 hours. Not a lot of time. Not every single day, because this is not going to make you money. These are things that will make you money over time, but aren't going to make you money over the next week. Now, what's bad use of time? Now, I get, guys, everybody's at a different place with their practice. And everybody has a different idea of where they want to grow their practice. But I would tell you, the year that I started having Missy fill out all of my paperwork for me was the year I took off. Because when I was filling out all that paperwork myself, it's horrible. It's horrible to fill out all that paperwork, and it only gets worse as time goes on. So you should be in front of people, not in front of paper. You should be in front of people, not in front of paper. So as soon as you are able to grow your business to a point where you have somebody else fill out that paperwork for you, that's it's going to be a watershed moment for you. We just talked about this. This is not a good use of your time. Quit reading the paper. And the next worst thing is, what do you think of the next, what else do I not want you to read, guys? Skim, okay, not read. What else do you think I do not want you to read? Casey's wondering if we have a calendar. I'll talk about that here in a second, Casey. So what else do I not want you to read, guys? Yeah, Wall Street Journal, I agree. That's a paper. So I don't want you to read the paper, absolutely. What else do I not want you to read? Yeah, well, you're getting close to it, Matt. Email. So go ahead and skim email, but what should you do with all of those solicitations you're getting from email? Junk them. Why, Matt? Guys, it amazes me how many guys forward me their emails and say, hey, have you seen this? See, you guys got a luxury. Guess who reads all that crap for you? You guys have a luxury. You actually have a secretary who's reading all that stuff for you, and they're gonna let you know what's important and what's not important. Who's that secretary? Do you have any idea? Me. I don't have to see clients every day, and I subscribe to everything. You can ask Missy. I get, 200 emails a day with that stuff. I subscribe to everything, so I see everything. And if it's something important, guess what? I'll look at it. And if it's good, guess what? I'll incorporate it, and I'll let you know. But if all you're doing is looking at it, what are you doing? When you're reading that email, essentially, what are you doing? If you're reading all those email solicitations, you're wasting your time. I'd agree. What else are you doing? If I'm on the football playing practice field, yeah, being bent on their bad ideas, I agree with you, Matt. Getting off focus, I'd agree with you. Diffusion. Here's the thing, guys. If I'm on the football field and I constantly look over the track field, because I'm wondering if others should be playing track, or not, I guess that's a different season sport, but if I'm on the track field and I constantly look over at the tennis courts, if you're constantly wondering if what you're doing is what you should be doing, guess what? If you're not focused, you're not going to do well. So here's the point I make with guys. Work my system. Put the blinders on and work the system. And as soon as it quits working, then what should you do? As soon as you decide this isn't working, then that means you tried it. You've put your heart and soul into it. You gave it a good college try. If after doing the system it doesn't work for you, which it will, but let's say it doesn't, then go ahead and look at all those other emails. But on the other side of the coin, if you're looking at all those other things while you're trying to do the system, what are you doing? You're setting yourself up for what? Failure. Because, guys, let's be serious. How many of those emails are honest? All those promises they're making to you, how many of them are honest? You know, when they're saying, yeah, we have a radio show that's getting you in front of whatever. You know, the one that again, I subscribe to these things so you don't have to. The one I got was a guy that was making $1 million a year selling IUL, and he was going to tell us exactly how he did it. Guess what the information was that they sent? A description of what IUL was and how it works. There was nothing in there about how he wrote the business. There was nothing in there how he marketed. There's nothing in there about a sales presentation. All it was basically cut and paste right out of an IUL manual. So then what did I do? I wasted about a half an hour time of filling it out, getting it sent to me, and reading it. That's a half an hour of my time that I wasted. But here's the great thing. I wasted it so all you guys what? I wasted my time so all you guys didn't have to. Because it was garbage. All that stuff out there is garbage. And if you're just chasing it, all you're saying is, I'm looking for something better. And what do they say about people who are always looking for the grass? The grass is always greener. Whatever happens to those people? Do they ever get anywhere? So yes, skim your email. Find out the email from your BD, from your FMO, from your clients, from your family. But what should you do with the rest of it? Trash it. Believe me, we're looking at that stuff. Jeff and I look at all that stuff. We subscribe to everything. If there's something in there that's worth, we'll let you know. Does that make sense? Next thing that's a problem is meetings that are too long. And here's what I find guys are doing with meetings that are too long. Or what you tell me. What do you think? Why do you think guys let the meetings run too long? First of all, we find out they're usually too long with A, B's, or C's. With C's. No plan or structure? I totally agree with that, Frank. No plan or structure. That's the biggest problem. And you're right, Casey, blabbing. No focus, Andy. You're right. So the thing is, the last year of my practice, my meetings with my clients were a half hour long. And Missy, if you can get on here.
Yep.
Did any of my clients have a problem with half-hour meetings?
Not at all.
Because, guys, if you think about it, well, first of all my clients had money, right? So how long did they want? Did they really want to come in and spend an hour with me?
Mm-mm.
No. They were there to get the information, make sure everything was okay. Because, remember, on a social basis, they were seeing me at the client barbecue. We had close to a 90% attendance at our clients' barbecues. So they saw me at the client barbecue. They could see me at the Christmas light tours. That's when they saw me on a social basis. And I was lucky enough to live in a small city with 100,000 too, so I ran into them often out and about as well. But they didn't come to the office for social discourse. They came to find out how they were doing. So I got them down to a half an hour because they got my newsletter twice a month, the snail mail one and the email one, and they were different things. So they wasn't just taking the snail mail one and putting it in the email form. There was two different messages. Then they had the big social gatherings twice a year, and they met with me for a half an hour once a year. Now, if there was more stuff to be done, then we would go ahead and meet longer. But if all it was a client update, it was a half an hour long. That's all it needs to be. So that's a good use of your time. The other thing is you can't be all things to all people. This was a nerve-wracking decision on my part. But it was also the year when my income started to skyrocket. The year I said, I'm going to specialize in retirees. So remember that a lot of my clients were made up of teachers, nurses, and engineers. Those were the three people that probably made up 90% of my client base. And the year I said, you know what, I'm going to only work with retirees, I went and handed everybody who was still working off to two other advisors in the city, and I didn't even get paid for them. I just handed them off to two other advisors in the city that I thought were ethical, and I didn't even ask for money for them. And then I turned all those people. So that was hard. I got rid of about half of my clientele all in 1 week's time period. That was nerve-wracking because I thought, oh my gosh, I'm getting rid of half of my clientele. I'm saying that I will not take any other clients except that people are retired. But that was the year that my income took off. And it was a hard thing to do. But when you finally let that go and you say, I only work with people who are retired, I specialize only. It's great when somebody says, when you sit down with somebody and you tell them, I only work with people who are retired, therefore I can specialize in their concerns. I know that I spend all day dealing with their concerns, because can you be everything to anybody? I mean, the funniest thing I saw was Waddell and Reed, which I don't know if they're national or not, if you've ever heard of them, but they're a regional BD, I think. And on the sign leaving Rochester, there was a sign that says, we specialize in college planning. We specialize in tax planning. We specialize in retirement planning. We specialize in income planning. We specialize. Guys, if you have that, what did that sign basically tell everybody who's looking at that sign? Let's see if we can get an answer to that. If you specialize in everything, that means you specialize in what? Nothing. Exactly. Nothing. So I'm not telling you need to do this. All I'm telling you is when I've done it, when other big producers I know have done it, they weren't big producers before they did this. And once they did this, they became big producers because they had one focus, and that was one group of people, one set of concerns, one set of presentations. I mean, they were a master at that particular entity. So I would highly recommend that you consider this. But when you try to be all things to all people, you got to understand college planning, and you got to understand 401ks, and you got to understand this, that, and the other thing for people who are still working. That's hard to be a specialist in all things. You can't know all that stuff. It's impossible. Instead, if you know everything about one thing, you're going to make far more money than a little bit about everything. Does that make sense? Think about doctors. Who makes the money? Does a GP, a general practitioner, or a surgeon make more money? Yeah, the surgeon does. So now let's talk about the surgeon. Does a general surgeon or a cardiac surgeon make more money? The cardiac surgeon. Does the cardiac surgeon or the heart replacement surgeon make more money? The more specialized you get, the more money you make. And then, does a heart replacement surgeon or a pediatric heart replacement surgeon make more money? See, the more specialized you get, the more money you make. So being all things to all people is not going to make you any money. You think that it is because you're like, well, then if I walk away from these people, if I walk away from all these other people, I mean, I'm going to make less money. No, I know it's hard. I know it's counterintuitive, but that's not the way it works. This is a huge time waste. Guys, for the last 5 years, guess how many guys have told me that have thousands of people on their LinkedIn? I mean, Jeff and I just laugh when people tell us they got thousands of people on their LinkedIn. Guess how many people I've seen make any money off their LinkedIn? Thousands of people on their LinkedIn. One person. And he isn't making tons of money. He's doing okay. And the one thing he's doing with this LinkedIn, at least he is LinkedIn, and he's created a very specialized LinkedIn for people in a particular industry. So everybody in that industry in his city all belong to that LinkedIn. So he's kind of known as the guy who connects people in that particular industry. It's not the financial industry. It's the natural resources industry. It's the oil industry. And he's at least known for that, so that he's been able to leverage that to a certain degree, but not to the point where he's making $1 million a year. And that's one guy out of probably 100 guys that I've talked to in the last 5 years that had thousands of people on their LinkedIn. And they spent all this time, all this effort working their social media. Social media is not how people decide on who to use for their doctor. Social media is not how people decide who to use for their accountant or their attorney. Social media is not how people decide who to use for their financial advisor. Social media is how they decide what app to use on their iPhone. Social media is what they decide to watch, what YouTube is the hottest thing right now. Social media is how they decide what song to listen to. It's not what they use to figure out how to do something important. Medical, tax, law, finances. They just don't do it. Don't waste your time on social media. Nobody I've ever seen, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, or anything else, is making any money on this except for one guy. And if it's one guy out of the 100 guys, that means 1% is doing it, 99% is not. So quit doing it unless you think you're in the top of the top. Okay? So here's the point I want to make. A lot of times Jeff and I will talk to people and advisors and say, now, have you done this particular task? And they'll tell us, no, we haven't had time. And here's what I do. I say, hey, I've got somebody asking. I want to learn how to use Facebook effectively, especially for biz building, nothing else. Guys, what did I just say? What did I just say? Am I just saying that about LinkedIn? Facebook is worse than LinkedIn, guys. All social media is a waste of your time. Law, taxes, medical, finances. People aren't looking on social media for that information. They're not looking for an advisor. They're looking for an advisor one-on-one. If they want a doctor, how do you find a doctor, guys? You ask your friends, neighbors, relatives, who's a good doctor? You don't do that on Facebook. You ask it one-on-one. Okay? So, but here, get back to this calendar. So they'll say, I didn't have time. And guess what when they say they didn't have time, don't ever tell me you didn't have time, because guess what my next question is for you. You got a hint up on the screen right now. What I'm going to ask you to do a task, and what do you think that task is? Show me your calendar, Peter. Right, show me your calendar. And how many advisors have had the balls to send me their calendar after that? None. None. Why? So, and here's the funny thing. When I first started, I used to think 3 appointments in a week was, man, that's tough. I got a busy week coming up. I got 3 appointments this week. And you can verify this with Missy. I ran with the 5Q system, I ran a 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. I didn't even schedule a lunch because I would take a lunch if somebody canceled. I just had Slim Fast in the in the refrigerator for me to get a meal very, very quickly. So, Missy, I think I heard you click on.
Yep, that is
accurate. Am I exaggerating?
Nope, so not at all.
Did I run back-to-back appointments from Monday to Friday?
You did, and it was a little celebration when someone canceled because that was the first time you actually got to eat lunch.
Yeah. So am I asking everybody to do that? No, but what I will tell you is how did I go from thinking three meetings were terrible to thinking that it was okay to have 20 meetings in a week? Once you do it, it's like anything else. If you want something to get done, you give it to a busy person or not a busy person. Because busy people have things mapped out. They have systems. So Missy was fantastic in that she set up a system for me to handle 20 appointments a week. It was not a problem. Well, when did I do my preparation? I did my preparation Saturday morning. I came to the office at 5 in the morning because I had 2 little boys. So I came to the office at 5 in the morning, and I was done by 8. I never spent more than 3 hours a week doing preparation. Because how long does it take? Hey, Jeff, are you on the call?
Yep, I'm here.
Yeah, so how long does it take to do preparation?
It takes about 30 minutes.
30 minutes. So that means you can get how many done in 3 hours? Doing high math.
You get 6 done.
There you go.
Trick question.
And guys, I didn't have the benefit of the computer or the software that we have now. I did it all by hand. So that's when I did my prep. Now here's the great thing. Whenever I would have a cancellation, guess what else I would do so I wouldn't have to come in on Saturday morning? I would pull out some of the proposals and get them done in those downtimes where people would cancel or reschedule. So it's amazing that if you want something to get done, you give it to a busy person, but yet these people that have no appointments all week long and they won't even show me the calendar tell me they're too busy to do anything. So that is a great explanation of why or of how the human or the human advisor works when it comes to their calendar. So what does your calendar look like, week-wise, month-wise? And guys, think about this. Last year, you had 365 days minus weekends, vacation, and holidays times 8 hours equals 1,720 hours. What do you have to show for it? What did you do during those 1,720 hours? That's just work week minus weekends, vacations, and holidays. What could you get done in 1,700 hours? So what you have to look back on in the last year, does it really validate that kind of use of time? The biggest question is this. If you looked at your calendar, if you looked at a calendar that was your assistant's calendar and you were paying them, say, $70,000 a year, and you looked at that calendar and that calendar looked like your calendar, would you keep them or would you fire them? So if you're paying somebody $70,000 a year, and you looked at that calendar, and their calendar looked like your calendar, would you keep them or would you fire them? And if you fire them, here's the thing you have to think about. You have to think, you know what, I want to make more than $70,000 a year. I want to be making $300,000-$400,000 a year, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 a year. So if you would fire that person that's only making $70,000 a year, then what do you think you should do with yourself if you want to make $300,000 or $400,000 a year and your calendar looks like that? How full should your calendar look like? You know, a doctor that's making $500,000 a year, what does his calendar look like? You know, and I make fun of the plastic surgeon because they're making a ton of money. But even them, you know, they work 9 to 5, but when they're there, guess what they're doing? They're doing surgeries. They get paid to do a surgery. So the more surgery, the only way they're making $500,000 is by doing surgeries, not by sitting in their office. So look at your calendar every Friday. Look back at it and say, how did I use all of those hours? I had 40 hours. What did I do with those 40 hours? What did I do that was productive? You know, and you're all entrepreneurs. You're all independent business people, so nobody can tell you what to do. But the year I started making all my money was the year I started pointing the finger at myself for my problems. The year I started pointing my fingers at myself for not seeing enough people, at myself for not closing enough people, at myself for not making enough money. The 8 years prior to that, guess what I said? Oh, it's because marketing doesn't work. The economy has changed. The products aren't right. Interest rates aren't right. The market's not right. People in Rochester are stupid. What do all those comments have in common? none of them have to do with who? Me. And when I started saying, you know what, I'm not making enough money, that's my fault. I'm not seeing enough people, that's my fault. I'm not closing enough people, that's my fault. I'm not making enough money, that's my fault. That person who that could have saved $20,000 in taxes and $5,000 in fees and they didn't work with me, that's my fault that they didn't work with me, not their fault. That event where I didn't get people to sign up for an appointment, that's my fault. They didn't sign up for an appointment, not their fault. So the day you start holding yourself accountable is the day you take the reins off your income. The day you start holding yourself accountable is the day your income becomes whatever you want it to be. And the first thing you need to do is look at how you spend your time and hold yourself accountable for that. Does that make sense to everybody? So any questions on that? I mean, you're all big boys. You can decide what to do with the information I threw at you today. Those of you that are willing to hold yourself accountable are going to see huge jumps in your productivity, and huge jumps to productivity is going to jump to huge jumps in your income. And some of you are going to get off of here and do what? Pick up the paper and what? Read it. Guys, so you're in charge of your time, not me. So I just wanted to give you some insight and all these things that I'm talking about right now, these are things that I wrestled with myself. There's not a single thing here, reading paper, reading emails, chasing down blind alleys, doing everything possible to be quote-unquote busy so I could go home at the end of the day and say I worked a hard day, and during that hard day I saw no people. I was an idiot. And the day I started to hold myself accountable for that kind of behavior and instead use my whole day to get in front of people was the day my income started going up. And then once I was in front of people, closing those people, that was when I started making a ton of money. So I appreciate you guys putting up with me being on the soapbox today, but these are all lessons that I learned, and I'm hoping that some of you will be able to learn from my lessons. So thanks for being on today, guys. We'll talk to you, or Jeff will be doing the call on Friday since we'll be doing the advanced sales training for those of you coming out. I hope you travel safe for that, and we'll see you, the people coming out for the advanced sales training on Thursday and Friday. We'll see you on Thursday with your bells on. Get a lot of rest. We're going to work you hard, and you're going to leave feeling a lot more confident in your skill level. So thank you, guys. Appreciate all of you. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you all soon. Thanks, everybody.